Welcome back, my brothers and sisters. This is Dave, once again from the depths of the Wolves Den in beautiful downscale, uptown Toronto, Nevada. And this is Buffalo Talk with Tolec, Gerald Whitehorse Standing, my beloved co-host, the little guy down in Texas, Tommy Hughes.
That's me.
And me, this is Dave in beautiful, well, I told you where I'm from, so we won't say that again. And here we go. Tolec, step up and say hi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wolf Spirit Radio. I was first exposed to you guys by Jay Perrone, and who goes by JP. And we spoke, I think it was a couple of months ago, 2-3 months ago. And I was really taken by his gentle nature. He's a good man. You're fortunate to have him as part of your team.
I am blessed beyond imagination having JP as part of my team. No, part of the Wolf Spirit Radio team. It's not mine, it's ours.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. I could feel it was kind of the right place for the right kind of message and the information that I was talking about back then, which was the story of the Dakota people coming to planet Earth and what they experienced as they arrived here. So it was a great experience. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad to be here with you guys again.
All right. Now, Gerald, my beloved friend, my brother,
yes,
my elder, would you please give us the standard, your blessing?
I sure can. It's my pleasure. And greetings from the Creator to the four corners of the earth, north, east, south, and west. And greetings from our people here on the Great Turtle Island, to all the people on planet Earth, and greetings from my family. And welcome to the family of the Creator in our collective consciousness under the power of one. So thank you very much, Dave.
Well, thank you for being here. Tolec, let's sit around the campfire and just talk.
What a great idea. I'd like to follow Gerald's words, if I may, by saying, I think by starting by saying that to echo the sentiment from all of my brothers in the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota, Mitakuye Oyasin, also known as all my relations, or all my relatives, and in the contemporary sense, we are all one. We may be having individual life experiences on this planet, but we are in fact all part of that great spark of life that God, or the Creator by any name, first created at the beginning and spread to a variety of worlds, including this one. So I'm blessed to be here and happy to be here with you guys.
Well, I am honored to have you here, Tolec. But I'm just as much honored to have Gerald and my co-host Tom Hughes. Because without the Creator's prodding and making things possible, we wouldn't have Wolf Spirit Radio. And when I look back at how Wolf Spirit Radio came into being, there have been many obstacles put in its path, but we've just risen above them each and every time. And I'm grateful most of all to the listeners and the people in my chat room, because they are the most incredible bunch of human beings I've ever met in my life. And I feel like I know each one of them personally.
Wow.
Because they're fun. And we don't take any BS in our chat room. As the Anons that want to try and tell us, what they're going to do and that. Nah, we just, we give you a chance. Sign in with the Nick. We don't care if it's temporary Nick, but you don't hide behind the anons here. And if they don't like it, we boot them. It's that simple.
I've always felt, and I can't speak for other people, but I've always felt that at least the venue that I participate in, that people should be treating each other from a place of mutual honor and respect. That's the foundation. That's the starting point for everything. At least in my worldview. And I would simply ask that anybody that joins us in any conversations, that they participate from that perspective. We're all human beings living this human experience, and no one's any better or any less than anybody else. None of us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we just had a marvelous show with Rebecca Jernigan, Santa Lee, and Dr. Dan Eklund about real women stepping up. And again, they talked about ego. And if I have an ego, it's simply to be the best at what I can do. And knowing what I can do and can't do is a little bit of wisdom.
I understand. I'm chuckling because I absolutely understand. There are some things that I'm good at, some things that I know, and some things that I don't know. And when I don't know, I'm not going to bluff my way through it. I just don't know. And it's all right. It's okay.
See, I would just like to understand everything I know.
Yeah, well, get in line, buddy.
Isn't that right, Gerald?
Indeed it is, my friend. Indeed it is.
Yeah. Well,
and I just want to say that from my own people, the Salagi, otherwise known as Cherokee, our saying is, I'm doing the best I can until I learn to do better.
Yeah, well,
indeed.
Yeah. This process of life on this planet is, at least for those people who are interested, it is absolutely about learning. It's always, at least for me, it's always been about evolution and growth. Sometimes it's going faster than I'm ready for, but I'm always there trying to participate as much as possible. Sometimes, I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes the lessons come faster to me than I think I'm ready for, but
Pardon me for laughing because
it's all right.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I take the attitude, it's kind of like if you got a really good horse, just loose on the reins, because that horse knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Tolec, you were saying things about the Dakota people that is not generally known amongst, we'll just use the term white people or Europeans that came here. You were talking about their average height. Can you go ahead and detail that again for a little bit for us, if you don't mind?
Sure. Okay. And I'll provide some clarity to what you're referencing. When you said Dakota, I know that you're being specific. You were talking about the planet Dakota in the Tegeta star system, which is located in the Pleiades. And there are 4 planets actually in that Tegeta star system. There is Dakota, there is Vela, Pyra, and Era, E-R-R-A. And Era is the same planet that the Wichapi Wishkoska, the Wichapi Winyan, the Star Woman, Semyasi from the Pleiades. She's from Era. Okay. In any case, so you've got 4 planets in the Tegeta star system. One of them is Dakota. It is the second largest planet. And the people of Dakota, about 100,000 years ago, migrated from Dakota to the planet Earth, as well as a couple of other planets. They first arrived in, I guess, the part of the world that people would consider back then to be Lemuria, down in Asia. They then migrated to Japan and the Asian continent when all the land mass changes started to happen to Lemuria. So they came to Earth about 100,000 years ago, and then they migrated from that area of Earth to Grandmother and Turtle Island, to the northwest of what we call the Americas, about 50,000 years ago, at least as explained to me by Tanka, the ambassador for the Dakota people. And they traveled throughout the country, and I do know that they didn't interact much with the people in Lemuria, because those particular people wanted to move their lives along faster. They were learning about technology. They wanted to progress faster. And the people of Dakota were, the only way I can say this is much more gentle, much more in tune with Earth and with nature. And it was their feeling that the best way to progress in life was to progress slowly, in tune with nature, and to not let technology lead them. So when all the Earth changes came to Lemuria about 50,000 years ago, they left. The people of Dakota moved to Japan and China and a few other places. And in the other direction, they came to the Americas. And then they migrated from the northwest of the Americas into Canada, south into America. And now keep in mind, sometime after that, after they originally left Dakota, their planet experienced the transformation from 3D, which is what we have today, to that of a 4D life, of a life form that is much more of fine matter essence. And so the people today from the planet Dakota are, the women would be anywhere from at least as we would see them and measure them. The women would be like 6'6", 6'8", on the shorter end because they're women, and the men generally from about 7'4", 7'6", 7'8", pretty typically. If we could see them, we would see them as more translucent beings. They are much more translucent than they are opaque. Because they're made of crystalline fine matter essence, they're simply more translucent. And they also vibrate at a faster, higher rate. And they are people today, certainly what the people of the Lakota or Nakota would say to be Tunkashida, or Wichapi Oyate, star people, star grandfathers. These are the names that they would give higher dimensional people that are from Dakota or any other star system for that matter. But I do know, based on everything that I learned, that at minimum the people of the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota, and others throughout the American West and Southwest are the great-great-great-great-grandchildren of the people of Dakota. There's a lot more to this story, but that's the bulk of it. In the process of learning what I learned, I also learned, I was amazed to see this actually, the symbol for the planet Dakota is a medicine wheel. And interestingly enough, 3 days ago, I was brought by some friends of mine to a sacred site here in southern Arizona, but in the northwest part of southern Arizona. And it's in the area of the Catalina Mountains. And I was shown a medicine wheel that was about somewhere between 2,500 to 3,000 years old. I don't know exactly how old it was, but it was pretty impressive to be standing there and experience the energy of that medicine wheel. So it's just, the more I learn, the more I learn about our connection, and certainly the connection of the people from Dakota and the indigenous people who were here originally, and that of our planet, and the importance of the medicine wheel itself. So it's been an amazing journey for me. I learn more every single day.
Now, at this point, I would like to bring Gerald into the conversation. And Gerald, how much does this correlate with the teachings of your people?
Very much. Maybe I could start on the offset. When we're connected to the source, and in this case the creator, then this is where we arrive at the teachings of the Cree Nation. And as a matter of fact, one of our allies of the Cree Nation is the people that you just mentioned. So, in reference to that, is that according to their ancient teachings, is that every one of us, man, woman, and children, all came from the different star systems of the universe.
Yes.
And so, in essence, what you're talking about, the Dakota people, since they came from the Pleiades, is that it's in reference to the Black Hills. And there is also the Black Hills itself. If you look at the byline as above, so below.
Yes.
It's an identification of that. So with the Cree Nation, in the history of the Cree Nation, is that yes, we migrated when we came to North America after all the civilizations have been destroyed simply because of the Great Flood and the stories that are connected to that, so that we migrated from under the ground, and we came up through the underground tunnel system, and we came up into South America, in particular to the Andes Mountains. And the city called Machu Picchu. And from there, the ancient stories of all the people in North America, it's been told that we all came from there and migrated to the different points of North America. And what's interesting is that you mentioned Lemuria, and that's precisely exactly according to our ancient teachings. Is I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Lane Jr.
No.
But anyway, he had an inheritance, and he used his money, and also other people along with him. And one of Tom Hughes' people, from the Cherokee Nation, in particular Lee Brown, and a northern Mexican Indian by the name of Cruz Azevedo Jr. and other people had ventured to collect the sacred stories of the world. And it's interesting because the sacred and holy people, the white people, their spiritual center is Switzerland, and the spiritual center of the yellow people is the Tibetans, and the spiritual center for the black people was the Kikiyus in the mountains of Kenya. And of course, here in North America, the story of the Hopis and the Navajos in particular have said their ancient stories that we existed and lived around this holy mountain before we dispersed into different parts of North America.
Yes.
So, yes, the story is very, very, very exciting. And exactly what you were talking about, Tolec, is that's precisely it. That we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And the fact of the matter is, when we occupy this physical planet of Mother Earth, the spiritual lessons and star systems, we're supposed to bring those teachings there onto the planet Earth and progress from there into spiritual beings. So all the activity, also the prophecies of our ancient peoples, whether you're red, yellow, black, and white, the stories.
Hang on a second, Gerald. Dave, we're hearing you can't really bad right now.
Hearing the fans again?
Yeah, your gain's too high or something. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry about that. Let me turn it down a little bit.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for reminding me.
Go ahead, Gerald.
So that's pretty well the synopsis or an overview. And I know we're just talking in general terms because it's very, very deep, isn't it, Tolec?
Yes. Yeah, there are certainly more details. There, as you know, what began 50,000 years ago,
Yes.
that migration went to a lot of places and a lot of lands. I do understand that also there was some intermarrying as the peoples decided to make different decisions, what was better for themselves as compared to others. And that at least as far as what I've learned from Tanka, somewhere around 2,500 years ago, the Dakota people themselves started to split and become the various people of Dakota, Lakota, Nakota.
Yes.
And they're collectively, their blood and genetics are the closest to the ancestors of Dakota, but they're not the only ones. He told me that we include the Hopi, the Cherokee, the Cree, the Navajo, the Apache, and many, many others.
Indeed.
Yeah. It's an amazing story, and apparently there were also indigenous people to this landmass who were here already, and there was some mating going on between the indigenous people and the people of the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and it's an evolution like any story evolves. But
Indeed, and one thing I could like to mention too, because when you're talking about the Sioux people in particular, and don't mind me because some people don't like using the word Sioux, but in reference, I'll just use it for explanation's sake. They have 5 dialects there, don't they?
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't raised native, but yes, I'm aware of at least 3 or 4. Yes.
Yes, what's interesting about that too, the Cree language also has 5 dialects.
Okay.
And what's in reference to the number 5, if you're talking about gematria and the Kabbalah, 5 is the number of grace. And in particular, according to the Hebrew religion, 5 is Torah.
Again, please.
5 is the 5 stones of the 5 books of Moses, which is the Torah. Does that ring a bell?
Huh. I honestly, I haven't paid that much attention to religions recently. I studied a lot of them. I was raised Catholic. I'm now in my early 50s, and when I was 19 or 20, I left that path, and I examined a lot of religions back then, but I haven't studied religions in years. I really haven't.
Yes.
What I do is I go out into nature, I listen to the birds, I watch the squirrels, I watch the hawks, and I listen to whatever Creator tells me that reaches my mind, my heart, my soul. That's the only way I do it these days.
Wonderful, wonderful, Tolec, and you just explained exactly the type of things that we need to do on a personal level, because that's the interaction between creation itself, and because I'm under the teachings of my people say that the creation is just a projected image of the Creator's mind. So we just participate in this hologram, and the fascinating thing about this and what you were saying is everything is all my relations, and they're just here to help us and to teach us walk that spiritual path. Indeed, and they can teach us a lot of things about the mysteries of life, can't they, Tolec?
More than we realize. You know, it's I live quite a bit out in the desert. I'm out here, and when I meant it when the show started. Every single day out here is a blessing. Hummingbirds, little wrens and finches, ground squirrels. It's an amazing way to experience life, to be this close to it and to be in it. And of course, as I'm sure you appreciate, the stars out here at night are amazing. You can almost touch them. So I feel, as the Lakota would say, life is washte. It's good. I feel very blessed to be out here, so immersed in nature. And it's done a lot for my growth. I've always recognized the importance of it, but what it's done is it's slowed my essence down. It's slowed me down enough so that I'm not focused on what's going on in my brain all the time. I'm focused on what's going on around me, what nature can teach us. And I can't explain it any other way. This is the way I live. I can certainly recommend it to anyone else, because it's a way of life that helps to slow the mind down enough so that you can not only learn about nature, but you can start to learn about yourself. You know, who you really are, why you are here. You know, what is your path? What is your mission on the planet at this time? And those are all really important questions, I think, for people to ask of each one of themselves.
Indeed.
You know, instead of people getting all excited about all the things going on television or all the things that they can't control in the world around them, focus on yourself. Focus on your wife or your girlfriend or your children. What makes you happy? What makes them happy? That's where the real joy is, really.
Indeed, and one of the things I would like Tom to explain to all the listeners is also to you, Tolec, is that whole question of balance, isn't it, Tom?
Yes, the universal and spiritual laws are only vaguely talked about and not recognized very much at all on this planet. The law of balance is one of those laws or universal laws that we all know, and it's been twisted around to the word justice, and we've twisted that word around to mean revenge. So the law of balance, the law of free will, the law of respect, how many different laws are there that we're only vaguely aware of?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also, it's reminiscent of the teachings, and I don't know if you know this individual. His name is Kevin Trudeau.
Huh. Yeah, I've seen him a couple times. Yeah.
Okay, so you're quite familiar this is his teachings, and I'm sure, and I'm quite certain that he got his teachings from all the indigenous tribal systems of learning stuff, and that is, if you take a seesaw or a teeter-totter, and there's a fulcrum in the middle, and of course that signifies the balance of it, and one item on each end, let's say one of them is motivation, and on the other side is technique. And what happens is too many people are highly motivated, but no technique, so there's an imbalance. Some people have too much technique and not very motivated, so you have to balance that out.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that mean I still have to wait for my pizzas? And I got a message for you, Gerald. I hope you're ready for it.
Okay.
Tracy wants you to know she made it home safe.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
And you were right. They did have a very difficult time when they went back to the legislature building.
I kind of suspected that, yes.
But she will call you tomorrow morning during her show.
Wonderful, wonderful.
We have put together quite a family here, Tolec, and I'm honored to have you among that family.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Like I said, I had I did. I mean, I go back to it because it was a great experience. JP was, he was a kind, gracious host. It was just a great experience, and I'd always said to him, you know, whenever I have an opportunity to come back to the guys of Wolf Spirit Radio, I will. So I'm happy to be here. Gerald, I'd like to dovetail onto something that you just said. And yeah, that has to do with this Kevin Trudeau metaphor or analysis of motivation as compared to, you know, taking action. And it may not sound like it's aligned, but it is. So many people in today's modern world, because of decisions they're making, whether conscious or unconscious, rely on technology and an easy way to do things instead of going inside, sensing what is the right thing to do, and making a decision based on that sensing, that analysis. Most times, those decisions can be made pretty easily without any technology, without any great analysis at all. And what I'm trying to focus in on is the fact that we've become too much of an intellectual society and not a society that, as individuals, feels or responds or acts from our hearts or our spirits.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very wise man, a spiritual teacher who you may be familiar with. His name is Gary Zukov. Z-U-K-O... Yeah, Z-U-K-O-V. And he has a good friend. He calls him his uncle. And this gentleman is of Native American heritage. And he sat down with him in a conversation one time. And he was looking at him, and he put out his right hand and his index finger, and he pointed to Gary's head, and he said, "My son, the longest journey you will make is from here," he's pointing to his forehead, and he moved his finger down to his heart, he said, "to here." He said, "Once you make this journey and you start living from here, you will begin to understand life." And I heard that. This was like 12, 14 years ago. That was around the time of my real growth, my real awareness, my real opening. And I was amazed to hear that. I'm like, this guy knows something. This makes a lot of sense. And my journey began. Wasn't an easy journey, believe me, but I could hear the truth of what his uncle was saying.
Indeed, indeed. And isn't that also reminiscent to the fact, when you understand the dynamics that are involved, that when you think of something and when you feel with your heart, when those two join together and you speak, and the elders always say, in the ancient teachings say, whatever that you say is your reality in everything that you're talking about.
Yes.
There has to be a balance in that, because, you know, these wise old elders, they can pick it out, you know, so fast, and they remind you that there's an imbalance in there, and they quickly remind you that you must journey within. Exactly, you know,
Yes.
that the teachings that he received was basically what we're talking about right now, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I went through, and I don't need to go into the details of this here because I did it on another show, but suffice it to say that that period of, I guess it was longer than that, it was like 98, 99, 2000, 2001, it was my own dark night of the soul, as a way of speaking. It was an enormous time of personal examination and growth for me. And it was hard. It was hard for me to look at those not mature parts of self, those unevolved parts of self. And if I was going to grow and change, I had to make a commitment to go through the changes and experience those parts of self, even when it didn't feel good, even when it got messy. I had to. I had to. It was the only way that I could go forward, was to feel everything that I was experiencing and face my own stuff moment by moment as I was doing it. And it was an amazing experience. I remember coming back here in the greater Tucson area and sitting at the base of the Catalina Mountains a full year after that experience. So there was like 4 straight years of just intense growth. Sitting at the base of the mountains and thinking, I'm back. It's me again. I can see the world through clear eyes without having the metaphoric dirt in the bottom of my emotional glass. I was finally that glass of clear water that I yearned to be. And my growth has been continual since then, but it's been much more nuanced and incremental because I've cleared so much of that dirt out. That's not to say that I'm perfect. I'm not. It just means that I'm balanced.
Well, one of the wonderful teachers that we have is experience. And you just explained something that is so profound, and that is, we live in a society of the left brain hemisphere, isn't it? In the analytical type of observation. And what you did is you put the bridge to your left through the supracolossum into the right side of the brain, which is very abstract, isn't it? So
yes.
There's a balance there.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to say, absolutely. Today, I'm playing my guitar again. I was gifted.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. I was gifted with a Native American flute 2 weeks ago, and in 2 weeks, I've learned the tone and the breath and the essence of this blessed instrument. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm getting in touch with that creative part of myself that I haven't used in years because I spent years in the business world. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing this Tolec work full time. But it is a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to tap into my creative part of self and express however it comes out. And I find that, interestingly enough, when I play the guitar or the flute with my eyes closed, it's so much easier. It just flows easier. I can't explain it. I just experience it.
You just explained something also, Tolec. When you close your eyes, you're closing your eyes to the physical world. And as you close your eyes, you're opening your third eye, which is a pineal gland. And you're experiencing everything in there in your creativeness. And this is a wonderful story. Your story, which is reminiscent to other people, must do exactly the same thing, what you're doing. And the wonderful experience that you had with the Dakota people is very much in line with what you're saying. And there's harmony and balance in it, isn't there? And there's congruency. There's harmony. You begin to experience creation in all its essence.
Yeah, your words are very wise, because sometimes I hit notes that I'm not trying to play, and yet there's beauty in those notes just because they came out when they did, and they're there when they're supposed to be. And that's I'm finding quite honestly that that's a lot of how I live my life today. It is far less planned, far less scripted. It's analytical, but only to the degree that I use my intelligence when I need to measure what I feel about something. But I first use my intuition and my feeling. You know, what people would typically say, you know what, my gut is telling me this. Well, my words are, it's my intuition, and I listen to that first. Then I'll go look at the facts and see what the information is. But I'm very much paying attention to the creative, intuitive part of my life more than any other time. And it's, boy, I'll tell you, there are just an amazing, there are an amazing number of blessings and help that I'm getting from people that I could have never imagined. It's been an amazing journey, absolutely astounding. And there's no safety net, none. My business life is gone. My suit and ties are gone. I'm doing this work every single day, and some days are hard, some days are easier, but every day is a blessing, and that's the way I live it. I think the people might call it an authentic life. That may be one way to express it.
The way that we're supposed to experience life on planet Earth? Absolutely.
And Tolec, would you do us a favor, please?
Sure.
Would you play 1,000 or so notes off of your flute?
Okay. All right. I'm going to do this with my eyes closed. And
I'm going to sit back and close my eyes and mute my mic.
Okay. And just understand that it'll be the first time I've played it publicly for anyone, so I'll give it my best. There we go. I'm going to turn this light off also. Okay. I've named it after our planet. I learned it. I've been playing, just as a reference point, I was given this key of G flute about, I think, 3 weeks ago. I started to really play it, to begin to learn it about 2 weeks ago. And this song evolved over the past 3 or 4 days. So I just wanted to provide a reference for how long it's taken for this song to come to me. That's it, gentlemen.
Applause, applause, applause.
Absolutely. And I sat here and I had visions of sitting around the campfire with the wolves and my friends. And Tolec, you were there playing the flute, and Gerald was there, and Thomas was there.
Well, you're very kind. I was aware of my little burps, but not bad for a first time publicly.
That was very nice.
Indeed.
That was excellent.
Yeah, it comes from the heart. I don't know any other way to say it. It just comes from the heart, and it's pretty much in its original form. So I feel blessed that it came to me. And there's I certainly think it's an aligned story, which is worth telling. It's my personal story, but early last year, it was about a year ago, actually, June of last year. And I know it was June because the website, the Andromeda Council website, went live in May. And I was speaking with Ambassador Tanka and Tehewe about feelings that I was having about learning about the planet Dakota, who those gentlemen, that's their planet, that's where they're from. Whoop, feedback.
Yeah, Dave, your mic came through too loud again. The fan.
Okay.
That's okay. It's
All right,
Dave gets out of control sometimes. We have to reel him in.
All righty. Well, in any case, we were talking about the planet Dakota, so I said, something is leading me to ask, so I will ask. Is this my planet of origin? And Tanka said, good, you're paying attention. And we talked about it. And what I learned in many conversations subsequent to that one was that I've had 3 lives as a Lakota, 1 life as a Dakota, male in all 4 of those, a life as a Hopi, and other lives as a Native American person. And I remember the first time, and Gerald, I think you may appreciate this, I remember the first time that I sat down and read a Lakota prayer out loud. I could actually hear myself saying the words. Now keep in mind, I wasn't raised Dakota or Lakota, so I was just reading based on what my heart and my spirit were telling me. And I found that I was able to pronounce the words, about 90% of them, I pronounced them correctly. And I also found that about halfway through this prayer that I was reading, that there were tears coming down my eyes. And I'm not sure if they were tears of joy or sadness, but at minimum, tears of recognition, because I was starting to learn about my origin and my heritage. And it was an amazing experience. I don't know if other people have chosen to learn about who they are or where they've come from, but to touch that deep part of me, that was intense. It was an intense, amazing experience, and that began more growth, of course. But I don't tell that story often, but I certainly thought within the context of this show it was worth sharing.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is, Tolec. I guess one of the basic questions that we have to ask ourselves is ask the question, who am I? What am I doing here?
Yes.
And I know there's a buffet style or smorgasbord of different ideas of other people saying many different things and stories. Is basically we have to identify our life according to our own terms, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm glad you're raising this issue in this manner, because my life, the things that are relative to me and important to me, are only uniquely important to me. These are I'm sharing personal stories about my life, but I think if there's any one thing that someone could focus on if they're listening to this show at all, is to spend the time to learn about who you truly are. What are your unique special gifts? What is it inside of you that you do well, better than anybody else? What is it that motivates you to be the person who you are? Those are the questions that will teach each one of us who we are, and it's a well worthwhile journey, absolutely. Especially during this time of change, especially.
Yeah, with all the different activities that are happening on a celestial level in the cosmos, with the aligning of the stars and the planets and the sun and the moon, and paying attention to that and learning that we are the receptacle, and one of the explanations that I like Tom explaining is about that hollow tube, Tom. Could you explain that also again, please?
Well, there's a saying the Sasquatch people have. They chant it when they're doing different types of work, and in their language, the chant is Hu Ta'aya. What that means, roughly translated into English, is that which is the one comes through us. And once you allow that which is to come through you, you become as a hollow tube at that point, so the energy can flow through you.
Yes. Yeah.
Would you say that again, Thomas?
Which part? Their part or the English part?
Their part.
Ho Ta'aya.
Oh, Ta'aya.
Well, it's like the word who. Like, who are you?
Oh, Ta'aya.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you.
And in our Cree language, the language that Tom was speaking, it's very close to the Cree language. It means being here in the here and now. The past is gone, the future is not here, but to concentrate on the here and now. And when you concentrate on the here and now, everything else just disappears, because we envision the spiritual beings that we are, the incredible beings that we are. And when you interact with them, and in that interaction, we share a common bond, and which is life on Mother Earth. So, yes, that word, exact what you said. And we being the tube where the energy can flow is, in other words, don't give your power away to anybody. Get it back.
Well said.
Realize potential. Isn't that correct, Tolec?
Very well said. Yeah. I spent some time with a couple of friends that I have, as well as another individual who was with us. And he spent the greater part of the time that we were together, 3-4 hours, talking about this yogi and this master and that master, and how great this person was and all of his teachings. And I wanted to stop him. He's not aware enough yet. But I wanted to stop him and say, you are equally as great as all of those others who you give your power to.
Precisely.
And
yeah, go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was just going to say, he may or may not come to that recognition in this lifetime, but it was difficult. It was, being where I'm at, it was difficult watching somebody continually give away his power. And yet I needed to let him do that. And I need to let him do that because that's where he's at. He has a right to be at that place in his evolution.
That's right.
If he asked me what I thought, only then would I open my mouth. When the student is ready, the teacher will come in many forms.
Indeed.
Right. And I think it's important for us to discern and pay attention when it's right for us to open our mouths. Yeah.
Yes, do you remember that movie where Kevin Costner was in? And the show was called Field of Dreams.
Yes.
And he kept hearing this voice, build it and he will come.
Yes.
Isn't that exactly what we're doing, is building ourselves to the point in that statement that you just made? When the student is ready, the teacher will show up.
Right.
And isn't it ever wonderful when you come to that place where you sit quietly and they do show up, don't they? And the people that you had experiences with, the Dakota people, is reminiscent of that. And to be able just to sit there and observe and to listen to this.
Yeah,
That's an amazing thing when we hear these stories and we connect to those things. And everything is a part of creation. And what's more importantly, it makes the whole universe come alive again. And we're so structured in just looking around and observing just our own immediate viewpoint here, and we're structured that way. But it's when you were mentioning about you left your business world and all the connections that were with the status quo, so to speak, and now you're free to be able to investigate the whole universe and all its teachings, it's such a wonderful place to be, isn't it? It's fun to learn.
It's very freeing. I was still, if you will, doing my professional work with my suit, coat, and tie for the last half of 2011, and I started this. I need to back up for a moment. I started to receive this information about the people of the Andromeda Council and all of their structure and the planets that participate. All of that information started to come to me in depth in September of 2010. But I started this Tolec work a year ago in May of 2011, and I found that it became increasingly hard to put on that suit, coat, and tie at the same time I was doing the Tolec work. And I was working like 12 to 14 hours a day, and I could no longer give both. I couldn't give myself and honor both parts of myself. I had to make a decision in terms of which was more important to me. So at the end of 2011, I decided to start this Tolec work 100% of the time, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, without a doubt. And you're right, it's enabled me to slow my life down, make decisions based on my choices, not on somebody else's schedule, and to make decisions with my mind, my heart, my eyes, my spirit wide open. It's been an amazing experience. And it continues to be, because I keep going back and asking questions. So I keep the guys upstairs busy.
Yes. Yeah, also, Tom, you also said something. Always keep asking questions and questions and questions. Isn't that true, Tom?
Yes. To quote a man that gave a final speech at a University of Houston address, he said, always ask questions, because when you're green, you grow. When you grow ripe, you rot. So always ask questions. Never stop. Question the answers. Never stop questioning. Always ask questions.
Every time I try to think of a question, nothing happens.
Oh, boy.
Why don't we take a little break for, say 4.5 minutes?
Good. I could use some more coffee. Go ahead.
Yes, indeed.
Sure.
I was just thinking the same thing. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you. We'll play a little classical music of sorts, and we're off the air.
Okay.
All right. Wow.
I'll be back in a moment.
Okay.
And I gotta. Bubba's cleaning it up. I just spilled a soda. JP says Tell Tolec the next time he plays it on JP's show, he'll give you some reverb.
Okay. I'll do that. Yeah, he and I have a standing date. Yep. And I will.
JP is simply marvelous.
He's a great guy. Yeah, he's a real treasure. I really enjoy him.
And I'm watching my chat room, and there's times it's all I can do to not laugh at the things they type, because there is no bullshit that goes on in there.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Some of them are pretty scary, but I honestly think that as I've watched the different shows that I've been involved in, the more that I'm involved in shows of this nature, and the less that I'm doing the Tolec reporting on the war and taking out the reptilian bases, the more I'm doing shows of this type, we're getting far more enlightened people that are paying attention. And a lot of the really negative, foul-mouthed people that paid attention to the reptilians, they're all dropping by the wayside. They're just disappearing. And I'm happy for that.
You noticed that. And I was wondering,
yeah,
where this show was, where the Wolf Spirit Radio was going to go at the beginning of the year. And Tracy gave me a reading, and she said, in essence, it'll go where it's supposed to go. So I went outside and talked to the cactus, because I was having some problems here. They said, all you got to do is ask us. They said, if you have any doubt, ask the ravens. So every time I see a raven, I said, what message do you have for me? And I get the same message. Keep doing what you're doing.
Right. Yep.
And of course, having 12 canines who mind speak to me and 3 horses. But I still got to get that poll up, Thomas. Thomas is getting coffee.
Yeah.
Because one of my horses has a friend who's a Sasquatch.
Oh, out where you are, even in Nevada.
They're on every country. They're in every continent. They're on virtually every county.
Wow. I thought I was certainly aware of them up in Canada. I was aware of them, like Nepal, Himalayas, Orient, the Northwest U.S., but I didn't realize that they were pervasive all the way throughout the U.S.
They are.
Wow.
And Canada and Mexico and South America, in Europe and Russia and Asia and all over.
I love it when people live in the same space as us. We hardly ever see them. It's great.
And yet, right now, there's 30 in my chat room.
Wow. Gerald, are you still here?
Yes, I'm here now.
It's a pleasure meeting you. I'm glad that you're here on this show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with an individual like yourself.
We have 48 seconds left.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. I'll be quiet.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we all bring value to the show. We all bring different perspectives and value. But the Native American one is not heard enough, and it speaks so much volumes.
Well, they've done their best to wipe us out.
18 seconds.
There's an amazing amount of truth in what the Native people speak of. People need to pay attention and listen.
Well, I do. 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome back, my brothers and sisters. And it is such a pleasure this evening on Buffalo Talk to have Tolec and Gerald Whitehorse standing, with occasional comments by Thomas Hughes, and even less frequently by me, because I'm sitting here just boggled. Tolec and Gerald?
Yes.
You have the mics. You have the floor. Speak up.
Well, actually, I would, if it's okay with you, Gerald, I'd like to turn the floor over to Tom for a moment. Thomas, are you finding any corollaries or consistency behind any of the things that Gerald and I have expressed with the Sasquatch people? Any of the themes that we've talked about, are they consistent? At all?
Yes. Especially the part about learning. And the things that the Sasquatch people, when I first began encountering them, the things that they were really waking me up to and having me remember or relearn is that I'm not the human that I've been brainwashed into thinking I am. I am a soul living in a human skin suit. So that was the first thing they made me aware of when I began learning from them. So, yes, there are a lot of correlations between what Gerald says and what you're talking about and what a few other people I have contact with talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point about being, if you will, a being of light, a being of spirit, of sentience and intelligence that happens to be wearing a blood and bone suit. It's a really good description. Yeah, absolutely.
A meat suit or a skin suit, that's what we're in.
Yeah. It's organic. It's got blood, bones, muscles, tissue, and it envelops a much larger light body, as an example.
It's like a show I was on with JP. It's been about 3 weeks. Somebody asked a question in the chat room: do they have computers or technology in these higher realms? And the woman we show with was fumbling on that, and I asked her if I could take that question. She said sure. And I said, none of the answers will really make sense or be important at all until everyone in a skin suit begins to realize and fully understand that the skin suit, the human body, is the technology. Once you get that concept through your head and begin to understand that, then the answers we give you to questions about crystal computers and things of that nature will make much more sense.
Well said. Yeah, and this actually, I think this is a really good segue to the topic of human death, or at least what people perceive to be human death. And Gerald, I'd like to hear specifically your thoughts on this after I get done my little thesis. Human death, as people perceive it to be, is not death. If you will, the end of the physical, biological body is simply either the termination or the ending of that biological suit. That's all it is. And your true soul, your true spiritual essence that makes up the true you is virtually eternal. Our lifespans are thousands of years, and that's literally in the thousands. We choose to have experiences that we want, either incarnating and being born on this planet or any other 3D world to have Earth human experiences so that we can have lessons. But death is not what people think it is. I may not be doing a good job of giving justice to what I'm trying to explain, but as an example, and I'll say for myself, I have no fear at all of death. None. Now, like a lot of guys out there, I don't like pain, but I have no fear of the death or loss of this human body. None at all. And that's because with every core of my being, I know that my true spiritual essence is virtually eternal. And I will continue to have amazing life experiences, amazing learning experiences in other dimensions and in other realms. And I will continue to for a long, long time. This teaching is not predominant in this country, nor is it predominant in Western Europe at all. And it is why that people are getting upset when they're learning about the coming changes on this planet. Because predominantly they fear death of the human body. Now, it doesn't mean that people should take this topic lightly. I'm not saying that. What I'm hoping to do is shed light on the fact that the end of the physical human body is not at all the end of the human spirit or the human soul, which is virtually eternal. That's the best way I can say it.
No,
Gerald, Tom, any of you guys?
Well, if I just wanted to add to what you were saying, we can relate that to computers that we have here on the planet now. Virtually everyone has experienced or worked with a Windows computer. And if you've worked with it quite a bit, you can look at the programs that are running in the computer and the hardware that's there as the soul of the machine. And it's running programs when you turn it on. But if a Windows computer has a foul up, it blue screens. And if you've seen that often enough and you read what it says on the blue screen, it's saying that it's doing a physical memory dump so that the programs, the soul of the computer that makes it work, is being protected and can be rebooted again. So in essence, when you're listening to people who have had near-death experiences and they see their entire life flash in front of them, the physical body, the technology that we live in, is doing a physical memory dump into the soul. That's why they see their entire life flash in front of them in a near-death experience, very similar to a Windows computer. How's that for an analogy or a comparison, Tolec?
I'd never heard it before, but I understand the comparison that you're making. It makes sense because it's that momentary glimpse that you're talking about when people's souls begin to leave their bodies. Yeah. Gerald, thoughts?
Yeah, precisely that, and exact what you're saying, because the way it was explained to me by the elders is just like going from one room to another, and it's just like that. But the fact of the matter is oftentimes, he said, that we develop our own demons within ourselves, which is our own creation, because we touched on this earlier. We're too damn lazy, or we have allowed ourselves to be used by somebody else, and they do their thinking for us and saying that's the truth without investigating really what it is. So let me give you a good example of Crazy Horse. He's seen his death. He knew the day that he was going to leave this physical skin suit behind. And the fact of the matter, exactly what Tom is talking about and you're talking about, is the soul is exactly why we're sent here into this physical planet. Is since we are spirit, we're supposed to bring the spiritual knowledge into this physical world. And that's what the building of the soul is all about. How well you succeeded in doing that. And one of the teachings that we have is the gift of a feather. The gift of the feather is, after death, you're weighed. Your heart is weighed as opposed to the feather. If your heart is heavier than the feather, you failed. But if the feather is heavier than your heart, you have passed. So in other words, let's concentrate on that very subject of your heart and where we feel, the emotions. The emotions is the energy of the spirit. And in metaphysics, for example, that is where the chemical reactions happen, is within the heart. Whenever we are confronted with a situation and we're confronted with it, it creates a chemical reaction within our heart. And that heart sends messages to the whole body, and the whole body produces hormones and chemicals, and those chemicals get shot into our blood. Now, the fact of the matter is, when you were discussing your business world as opposed to the world that you live in now, there are two different things. In experiencing creation, you've learned to adjust those chemical reactions within your body, and it comes on a peaceful level. There's harmony there. There's a balance there. You become alive. You begin to understand your purpose in life on earth. And you begin to experience creation in wash day, and you begin to see all my relations. And exactly what we were talking, nobody's built, but in our uniqueness is what we give back. What we give back in harmony, what we give back to creation is what we learned by using the physical and the spiritual. Exactly that analogy with what Tom was talking about. We are that biological computer. If you can understand the workings of the computer, you can understand the nature in the way that our bodies were created in the first place. Everything in our body is an energy center. And when you sit down and meditate on those aspects, you begin to realize the very potential that it has. And that journey within is, the answer is within yourself. The answer is not externally out of ourselves. The answer lies within. And it's become symmetrical with creation itself. And there's a balance there. And everything else participates in that, and you begin to hear the birds sing, the hummingbirds, like you were saying. You begin to experience that. And it's a whole different atmosphere and a different feeling of peace and joy. And above all, you begin to experience the unconditional love of the Creator when He created everything. You begin to participate in that. So, does that explain it there, Tolec?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I was looking for your own personal perspective about this topic that we're examining, and it's
yes,
unique.
My own personal topic is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Is if I can face life, I can face death. In dying we live, and in live we die.
Yes.
So, with that analogy, and begin to understand that experience, and you apply that within yourself, and it becomes a personal journey, then death has no hold on you, does it?
That's
because
right.
We're celebrating life.
And I
and
just
if
want
there's a death inside of you, those things that you held on to, that we seem to have an affinity, when we let them go, there's a death there, isn't there? And you just let them go by the wayside, and you bury them.
As we all know, we're not able to create, new healthy parts of self without letting the old parts of self that weighed us down, that caused us emotional dysfunction. You can't create new unless those old parts of self die and fall away.
Yes, the saying goes, the Creator will not shut the door until He opens another. Precisely that, yes.
Yeah.
But I just want to add to this, and by saying everybody may want to go back and watch the movie Avatar again, because there's more truth to that movie than anyone realizes, I'm pretty sure, especially when there's people out there saying it was a racist movie. Really? Are they reflecting something in themselves? Because I don't remember the movie being racist at all. But it directly reflects what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, even the fact of the matter is, Tom, when those people made that statement, it's a racist movie, you could pretty well tell that exactly there's some issues in their life that they have to work out.
There you go.
And the fact of the matter in that statement you made, if you were to look at it really and honestly look at it with an open heart and an open mind, you begin to understand the universal truth that is in it. Because isn't that ever reminiscent to all creation in the universe, and in particular the people that you associate with the Andromeda Council, and also the Dakota people? the Kote people? Isn't that our experience? We experience different beings because we allowed ourselves to be that vessel or that instrument where we receive that information because we're ready for it. The statement that we made, when a student is ready, the teachers will show up.
Well said. Yeah, well said. I will say this. They have always, Tanka, Tehewe, Azar, Vice Chairwoman Tanya, all of them, they have always been warm, kind, gracious, exceedingly patient. Whenever I ask questions, and I'll tell you honestly, it took me about a month and a half to get to the point where I felt comfortable going back and asking questions all of the time, because I didn't want to burden them with my questions, and our relationship actually grew even more the more I started to ask questions. The more curious I became, the faster the answers came, and the more I came to understand.
So it really boils down to how much you allowed yourself to progress.
Oh, yeah, well said. Absolutely. Yeah, very well said. That's a great observation on your part. I remember Tanka, and his name is actually Nishikawe Tahionane, and it's in Dakota language. It means bear who waves the stick. And he once said to me, and I'm going to distill a paragraph down to just a couple of sentences. This is October, November of 2010, actually, and I was expressing concern about all of the coming Earth changes on the planet and the difficulty that I knew people would be having, both emotionally and physically. And I was expressing to him my concern. And I'm now going to paraphrase what he said. And he said, "My young son, understand that all of life is precious to us. All of life is precious to the Creator and the creation. And no life is ever wasted. Ever. It always, always goes back to Source." And again, I'm distilling about 3 paragraphs of information down to the essence of what he was trying to say. But I was astounded at the simplicity of that message. And I've learned since then how true it really is.
Mm-hmm. Well, the people that are listening, and I know a lot of them are procrastinators, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. They have a golden opportunity right now to open their hearts and their minds to receive everything that we're talking about, and to be in the family of exactly what you're talking about. It's such a wonderful place to be able to experience creation, Creator, and the unconditional love of the Creator, and all creation. And like they say, all my relations, washte, washte. They begin to experience that very thing. And in death, you look forward to it. Like, which one of the chiefs said this, Tom? It's a good day to die.
That was Sitting Bull, wasn't it?
Okay, let's look at that, for example. But isn't that true? Isn't that true? To be able to experience, we're so restricted in this physical skin suit. Can you imagine the ancestors in the spirit world that have lived and died, and they're in the spirit world on what they are envisioning? When they look upon Mother Earth and they see all the activity, and I bet you one thing, they wish that they had a physical body, because what they know in the spirit world that they want to teach us. If we could only open our hearts and minds to be able to receive that information and begin to realize this is a beautiful world to live in.
it is an exceedingly beautiful world, even as it is today. Now, I'm not talking about societies and governments and politics and countries. I'm talking about this beautiful planet, Inamaka, as the Lakota would say, or Unchimaka, as the Dakota would say. But you know, what's equally important, I believe, is their own perception. Now, when I say they, I'm talking about Tanka, the commander of the biosphere, Nahishka, Tehewe. They live their lives as fourth dimensional people, as Tunkashila, as spirit. That's the spirit grandfathers. That's how they are known, and they are excited for us. Now, this may take some explaining, but it's a pretty simple concept. They are excited for us because it will be the first time in the recorded history of humanity, in recorded time, in this space, that a species, a solar system, and a planet. Now, keep in mind, there will also be other planets that this is going to happen to. But this will be the first time that a whole planet of people will be able to uplift and raise in vibration and become higher dimensional people without their physical bodies having to die.
Precisely.
Highly. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's the thing. You just hit the nail right on the head. When we're on the subject of death, when you're no longer afraid of it, are we not in fact living? Doesn't that spiritual aspect of ourselves in our skin suits, don't our skin suit metamorphosize just like being in like a caterpillar does?
Well
and
said.
In our cocoon, don't we metamorphosize into becoming a wonderful butterfly?
That's a great expression of what will happen, actually. And they've told me, there were many expressions, but they've said, my son, it will happen in the blink of an eye.
Indeed. How exciting.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is exciting. Especially for those of us who don't like pain. But, you know,
you see, because the word is the least understood word. The word suffer. Do you know what suffer really, really means? It means allow it to happen. Invite the pain. And when that pain comes, face it.
Right.
And I'm so reminded of the buffalo spirit, the Wakatanka spirit. Once we begin to accept their gift and be a partner with it, will they not teach us how to overcome pain by facing our life with it, no matter what happens? And lo and behold, what happens is a higher dimensional energy enters within us, like what Tom was saying. We are that hollow tube where the energy, when the student is ready, the teacher will show up.
Right. You make a very good point. And just for a moment, I'll use my own personal experience. When I went through that growth, those substantial 3-4 year period of what the spiritual masters would call the dark night of the soul, I had to face a lot of emotional parts of me that weren't healed yet. That's the best way I can say it. And in order to do that, I had to know that there was going to be some, for lack of better words, some suffering and some pain, because I had to fully feel what I had experienced in order to release it, in order to heal from it.
Precisely.
And so I had, and that's what I was saying earlier, I had to be willing to face and feel the pain, face and feel the suffering, and knowing that no matter what I did, I was going to become a better person for doing that.
in the counseling field, we are trained when the people reach the bottom, they either die physically or they can reach out and ask for help. So in our lowest points of our life, knowing that, isn't it ever wonderful to be able to reach out to the Creator and the creation and all the spiritual beings that are around, that were here, that were sent here to assist us in our journey of healing, like you said? Isn't it ever exciting to be able to experience them and to be able to live in a far... What it causes is a paradigm shift, does it not?
Absolutely.
And
I remember...
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm finished. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I remember at the end of this period before I came back here, taking a drive one day. It was toward the end of all of this growth, and it was just one of those uniquely beautiful days. I mean, there are many beautiful days in this country, but blue skies, 82 degrees, puffy white clouds, and I had come through this considerable growth and noticed how much clearer the air looked. How Go ahead.
Hang on 1 second. We're trying to get a Lakota on the air right now. If he'll answer the dadgum phone.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Is that you, Lyle?
I am he.
Watch stay.
All right.
Wash day, Lyle.
Hello.
Aho.
Hello.
Lyle is Lakota, and he wanted to listen in. So.
Glad to have him join us. In any case, to wrap up the story I'm grasping with is, when I came through all this growth, what I was observing as I was taking the drive that day is how crisp the clouds look, how crisp the edges of the leaves look. I was seeing life like I had put a new pair of glasses on, simply from healing and cleansing my spiritual self, my emotional self more than anything else. But that whole period of healing and cleansing allowed me to even see life through my own eyes in a different way, visually, clearer than I'd ever seen before. And I was amazed to experience that. I just was surprised that was part of the outcome.
Tolec, I would like to shift gears on you a little bit.
Yeah, feel free. Sure.
I won't bring up anything specific, but you and I have had a few conversations now, and we've kind of validated each other's experiences, have we not?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And your experiences come from the Dakota people and the Andromeda Council, and my experiences come from the Sasquatch people, and yet they're almost identical, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say this much. They include people of a higher dimensional nature and life form.
Yes.
Very definitely. And yes, our experiences are consistent. And I was astounded to hear you tell me your story, that yours was so similar to mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's been really interesting because like you, I've gone through the dark night of the soul, and I made it very well known that I didn't want to be here anymore. I was done, and I had to go and open my mouth and insert my foot and say the word "but." If you guys want me to stick around for any number of reasons, you got to give me a reason to wake up every day, and that's when the Sasquatch people came into my life. But I wanted to stretch a little bit further and talk a little bit about Tanath of the Silver Legion, and if there's anything been going on with them lately. Aside from the cube they destroyed, I listened to that interview, but have they done anything as of late that you know of?
I know that she and her people are always busy, being the warriors that they are. They're always busy cleaning up some mess somewhere. but I'm not aware of anything specific.
Okay.
She would quite honestly be the best person to talk about what her people are doing. I do know that a bunch of her people from the Silver Legion have decided to camp out over on Centauria, which is the defense biosphere of the Andromeda Council, and simply guys who are warriors enjoy the company of other warriors. And so apparently they enjoy each other's company, and they like some of the technology toys that they have over on that biosphere, and they're getting along quite well, actually. So you've got people from Dakota, people from Procyon, people from different higher dimensional realms that are from the Silver Legion, all on that one biosphere working together. So it's kind of neat, and they're a good bunch. They're funny. Those guys have an amazing sense of humor. Pranksters is a good way to describe them.
Yes, and I'm sure there's plenty of wrestling contests that go on there as well, among other things. But
yeah,
you were saying in one of the interviews I listened to about how on these biospheres they are able to accommodate much higher frequencies, all the way up to I think it was 9th or 10th dimension or frequency. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, on the primary Andromeda Council biosphere, where people from the 12 senior member races of the Andromeda Council, there are senior members, and then there are a whole bunch of junior members. And the junior members contribute their time, their energy, their intellect, their work effort in a number of subcommittee and advisory board specialties. And they all report up to the council itself. But the council is made up of 12 races of people, and they are predominantly there's some from the third dimension, mostly from the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. And of course, yes, there's accommodation, living quarters made available for people for third dimension, fourth, fifth, and sixth that I'm aware of on the primary Andromeda Council biosphere. One of the hospital biospheres will only accept human patients that have been recently traumatized, because they don't, for those human patients that have been recently traumatized, and they need a period of healing. It's not necessarily good to expose them to quite different extraterrestrials. So that one particular hospital biosphere of Ponte, there are no ETs or interdimensional people there. But otherwise, the other 11 biospheres are all fully capable of having different interdimensional as well as 3D people. I'm going to shut this door because I hear one of the local dogs.
Okay.
So yes, there are certainly accommodations for people of multiple dimensions. It's interesting you bring this up, because I was astounded at the size, and this is, now keep in mind, the primary Andromeda Council biosphere is only the size of Pluto. The two that will be traveling to the new 3D Earth, or at least the alternate 3D Earth, when this planet makes its transformation to becoming a fourth dimensional world, those two are the size of Jupiter. They're considerable in size, but even the biospheres that are the size of Pluto, the primary one, as an example, has, I think, upwards of 15 parks. I've only seen a couple of them, but swimming holes, trees growing, flowers, little creatures like ground squirrels and rabbits and deer that graze. They not only have dedicated parks, sort of like national parks like I'm describing, but they also have green areas throughout the whole biosphere. I was astounded. I was astounded to see as much green as there is. Sort of like if anybody's traveled through the U.S. or Canada or anywhere around the world and seen really high-end resort hotels where there's always palm trees and plants and bushes and greenery everywhere, that's very much what like the inside of these biospheres is like, including multiple parks and including some hills, some rock faces for rock climbing. It's amazing what they do inside these biospheres. I was just astounded. This one that's the size of Pluto, it's got 26 floors. And two of those floors are dedicated to the 12 Andromeda Council ambassadors and the ambassador regents. You know, if an ambassador goes sick, his counterpart takes over. So those guys and whatever other diplomats, etc., there's 2 floors dedicated to those guys for living quarters. There's floors dedicated to the 15 officers that run the whole biosphere, from the COO all the way down to the engineering guys. They have, again, the primary one, the size of Pluto, they've got a crew complement of 50,000 people plus their families. And that's about 30,000 people. You know, some married, some not. Married with kids, they're on there as well. So you've got a biosphere the size of Pluto that can hold at full capacity 2 million people with an M. The two biospheres that are traveling to the new alternate 3D Earth, Nemonste and Pleiadra, they are the size of Jupiter, and they can hold billions of people with a B. Billions. And it's amazing that these are, I don't want to say constructed or manufactured. Created is a better word. And I'll refer to Gerald. Gerald, I think you'll appreciate that the people at this level who live higher dimensional lives, they don't manufacture things. They create them out of consciousness.
Yes.
It's matter creation.
Yes.
Which is consistent with how creator and creation creates. So, just little tidbits about the biospheres that I thought I'd share with you, as long as you were asking.
Yeah, the individual, are you familiar with him? His name is Alex Collier.
Yes, I know Alex. We've talked a few times.
Yes, because the very information that you're talking about, he talks about the Andromeda Council, and he says that his message was specifically coming from them, and one of the things that he indicated is, and I know a lot of our people here in Canada and also the United States, is that they had experiences with these people. They're tall, and they're blue-skinned, aren't they?
Yes. The people from the Andromeda galaxy in the star system Zenitae are those people that you're describing. They're fifth-dimensional people. The younger they are, the more blue tint there is to their skin. The older they get, the lighter the blue tint to their skin. But they're fifth-dimensional people, and Mornay is the primary commander. I forget the name of the biosphere that Mornay is on, but our people are well aware of him. They know him. Mornay was actually pretty busy working with the guys from the Silver Legion recently. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, there is. And Alex and I have talked a few times. There is definitely consistency with the things that he's learned from what I've learned. Now, I'm not him and he's not me. Now, that being said, there's still consistency with the things that he's learned compared to what I've learned about the people of the Andromeda Council. Just understand the key difference is that the Andromeda Council encompasses people from not only inside the Milky Way galaxy, but people outside the Milky Way galaxy in the Andromeda galaxy, and encompasses and it encompasses people from different star systems. So they're not only Andromeda Galaxy people or people from Zenite, they're people from the star system Arcturus, the planet Patola, people from the star system Antares, planet Nicote, people from Procyon, planet Kenya, and there are a number of them. So we get to see people. The Andromeda Council primary biosphere is like an interstellar, intergalactic UN government center in space. Yeah. And it has all of these people, and their predominant work effort is about establishing protocols of cooperation and collaboration between the mutual planets of the Andromeda Council and its day-to-day operation company, if you will, which is the Galactic Federation, based in the Tau Ceti star system.
Right.
It encompasses life from many star systems and of many dimensions. And Alex,
I'm glad that you on the subject that we're talking about this, because it also reflects on our ancient teachings of all the indigenous people in the world, is that they were approached from these many different beings, and they brought their teachings with them in order for them to progress on a spiritual level, right? Or in other words, our spiritual evolution. And one of the things that they also mentioned is that they cannot interfere with the free will of every individual, neither can they interfere with the spiritual evolution of all humans here on Mother Earth. And so is that your sentiments also?
Yes, that is consistent with how they operate. I've talked about this so much, but I'll reduce it to this piece of information. They decided to step in when things were going to be of such a catastrophic nature that would have harmed so many humans on planet Earth and on other planets in the future, that they had to step in and intervene and remove the reptilian threat off this planet. They had to do it.
You mentioned that because Lyle is on the other line and he's listening, and one of our important leaders here in Canada in particular is Chief Kanikanit, and he's being held in prison. And I would very much like if you could ask them to help us along with releasing Kanikanit, because he needs to do his work further in regards to what we're talking about here. Isn't that right, so Lyle?
That is right on.
Can you tell me where Chief Kanikanit is held? What province?
Saskatchewan.
Okay. And he's held in a prison?
Lyle?
Yes.
I think it's the municipal, the city jail for right now in Regina, Saskatchewan.
They said that he had violated a parole for charges of growing hemp on his own land.
Oh, brother.
Right.
Well, I will say this. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I am happy to ask on his behalf. I will absolutely ask.
Thank you so much, Tolec.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
All right, we have a caller from Grayling, Minnesota. Would you tell us?
That's Destry.
Oh, hi, Destry.
He just wanted to
I'm
listen
here.
too, I guess. You just wanted to listen in, right, Destry?
Good. Well, welcome. Welcome to the guys. Welcome to the guys.
I recognize some of the voices on here.
This is where we put the lime in the coconut and mix it all up.
Oh, boy.
So
He's
how-
the green thing, and we're all cocoa nuts.
Yeah. How have you enjoyed being on the show tonight, Tolec? Has it been pleasant or stressful, or how have you enjoyed being here?
No, it wasn't stressful at all. It's been a joy. It's been a real pleasure.
Good.
I always find it enjoyable when I can share what I know, what I've learned, what I've experienced, in an environment where, for the most part, many of the things that I speak of will be understood. Because many times when I talk, a lot of people don't understand the context of what I'm trying to say. They don't have enough references for it. With you guys, it's a lot easier.
Well, isn't that the way it is, though? It seems to me that we have to explain, and there's a whole bunch of information that is connected to it, and we need to seem to be able to give them a history lesson, so to speak. And so, yes, indeed, it's a breath of fresh air to be able to discuss these items openly, and the way that we are is that we're on the same page.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
and I want to
very
be
much so.
I want to be the first one to invite you to come back in the future, because we've really enjoyed having you here. And for all those people who are having a hard time understanding some of this stuff, just a point of humor. One of my Indian brothers from California, George Lopez, I will quote him and say, "Go ahead and pull your head out of your backside and think outside the buns. Think outside the buns. Think outside the buns."
Oh, boy.
We have an interesting question that came out of the other chat room.
Mm.
And normally we wouldn't take questions, but is the skin color of a physical being related to their vibratory range?
I'm Tolec. I've never heard that before, ever. At least in my experiences, I've never heard that.
Well, let me just answer that question based on some dark people. And one of the things that they're considering is a chemical called melanin. So the hotter the climate, the higher the melanin is produced in your body, so that you can absorb the solar energy, which is electrical. Of course, the Earth is magnetic. Positive, the North Pole, which is giving, and the South Pole is receiving, which is negative. So with the man and woman participating together, we create an electromagnetic dynamo.
Well said.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, I thought that the person was asking if there was any relationship between a spiritual origin and the color of somebody's skin. So that's the perspective that I was answering the question from.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the point that you made. Absolutely. Yeah, we are, as Tom has said, we are amazing, beautiful light beings wearing skin suits.
That's all.
That we are.
That's wonderful to be able to come to that realization and come to terms with it. Then life becomes more exciting when we approach it in that way, with openness.
Yes.
Isn't that so, Tolec?
Yeah.
In about 1 minute, we're going to lose Revolution Radio for this simulcast, but we can continue as long as we need to.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And I want to thank everyone for being from Revolution Radio's here tonight. And don't forget, they have a donation button, folks, and every penny that comes in goes to the operation of Revolution Radio.
And over at Revolution Radio, I'd just like to say that I'm so glad all of you got to hear me again.
Indeed.
Where are they based? Do you know which country they're in?
They're in the United States. That's where I get my audio stream from.
Oh, okay.
But on Buffalo Talk Night, they also simulcast with how many FM stations? Dave?
10.
10. Okay.
At
So we're
least
going out. That's why I'm watching my language, because we're undergoing FCC embargoes right now because we're on FM radio stations.
Okay.
So that's why I was very careful with that "think outside the bun" statement I made.
Yeah, I knew you were holding back there, Tom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way: self-expression is not one of my problems.
Yeah.
Never has been, Thomas.
Nope.
Hey, Dave, are there any topics that you wanted to explore in the second part of this show that we haven't touched on?
I'm still boggled from the first part. Why don't you play your flute again?
Okay. All right. I'm going to close my eyes. There we go.
Wow.
That was intense. Thank you.
That is amazing.
And
2 weeks, guy. That's 3 days. 2 weeks ago, I picked it up for the first time. God's honest truth.
Once again, that vision of sitting around the campfire with the wolves and all of you gentlemen just flooded my mind.
Yeah. It's, I grew up playing the guitar. I played it in college. This is the first time I've ever played a wind instrument. And I'll tell you, it's transformative. When I close my eyes and play, it's an amazing experience.
Can I give you some fun ideas with that flute, Tolec?
Are they PG rated?
Of course, they're G rated.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Well, I know it's Tom speaking, so
one of the things, a very long time ago, back in the early 80s, I played the trombone. One of the things I learned how to do, which is a wind instrument, like the flute, or similar to the flute, only in the fact that you use wind from your lungs to play it. One of the things I learned to do to make some very unusual notes when playing the trombone was I added my own voice or made my vocal cords vibrate while I was blowing into that trombone. So it makes a whole new sound when you add your voice or vocal cords to playing the flute. So there's a fun idea for you to just kind of play around with a little bit.
Sure. There's a technique called tonguing, and you essentially take your tongue and you curl it, and you do a kind of thing, and it makes some beautiful sounds as well. Now that I've gotten a sense for this song as it's come to me, I'm going to start playing with different inflections, and I'll try vocalizing through my breath and my wind and see what that sounds like, and I'll try to tongue it as well. You can also do what I did, which is kind of just very much like using a trumpet. You just take your finger and use it as a valve.
Exactly.
And that's been a fun experience, and that's been very intuitive for me. Another thing you can do is use your breath really slow to exhale, and it almost sounds, and this is actually kind of appropriate, I hadn't thought of it till just now, it almost sounds like a wolf howling. I'm going to do this again, listen.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's the fadeaway part. That gentle fadeaway that he does at night when he finishes his howl. I'm like, wow, this is cool.
If you listen to Indians when they're singing a song, beating thunder drums, they do that with their voice as they're singing. They do the fadeaway on certain parts of the song. So yes.
Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to going to the Dakotas and spending some time with those people. Very much. There'll be I'm sure, an amazing experience for me.
Yes.
Get to see some...
one of the things, Tolec, if I may...
Yes.
In playing your flute, which is one of the remarkable instruments that we as First Nations people here on the Great Turtle Island is... it's very reminiscent to this teaching, and I'm quite certain that you might heard about this individual. His name is Fibonacci, the Fibonacci sequence.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And some of the people that have said that have learned to play the flute is they base everything based on that Fibonacci sequence, and it's the musical notes, isn't it? It's based on that, and the frequency and the sound that you make, and exactly what you were explaining about putting your tongue in a certain way, and the sounds that you make. According to the ancient teachings, and it's the three conscious levels: superconscious, conscious, and subconscious. We men have a deep voice, which is in a reflection to the subconscious mind, and the woman, because of their voice, are high. They're in the superconscious level, and in between the conscious level that's where the musical notes of a flute is played within that range. So basically, the more that you learn about yourself, the more that you practice the flute, the more that the songs that you want to give to the creation is what you're giving back, is you're speaking the language of creation through the flute, which is an amazing thing, because once you begin to play that flute, you begin to realize when you play it outside, is the birds will sing with you, and the animals will come and be a part of it. It's an amazing thing all into itself when you start doing that. And,
I've sat outside. I'm sorry. I've sat outside at night during sunset and after sunset, and the desert sky gets really black. And right around sunset, when I'm playing, the mourning doves will kick in. They will participate as I'm playing.
That's amazing.
There are just certain notes that are very similar to the sound that they make. And I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience. I'm really blessed to live out here. It's
one of the things that they use too is an oscilloscope, and to measure the wavelength, the sound that your flute produces. And once you become a master of it and learning how to blow, like you were saying, just a puff of air in relaxation. And it seems to me the people that have learned to play the flute have indicated that same aspect. And I don't know if you know this individual. His name is Koyut. He's from the Mayan people.
Is this the musician, Peter?
I don't know if he is, but anyway, you can get some of his music through the YouTube. His name is Koyut, and he's from the Mayan people. And the way that he plays it is basically just learning about all these wonderful things that the creation has provided us with. It's amazing to learn, isn't it?
It is amazing to learn. I found that, and I still find it today, because again, It was given to me 3 weeks ago, and I only started to pursue letting it come to me, letting it come through me about 2 weeks ago. So I'm still very much a novice. Mm-hmm. And once I really started to relax and not try to create the notes, because I have a good ear. I can tune my guitar without any instruments. I've always just had a good ear. I know what sounds right. And so I guess all I'm trying to say is that as soon as I stopped trying to play it and I started to let the notes come through, it got a lot easier. It just did.
Yes, you mentioned a word. You learn to listen with the ear. And our people say learn to listen with both ears. The left side is feminine and the right side is masculine. When you open up the learning from each one of those and it plays a harmony, rhythm and everything else just plays a part in it, and you become one with it. And isn't that what the teachings is about the flute, is you become one with it, and it's an extension of you?
I found that the second time I was playing, about 10 or 15 minutes ago, about halfway through, I couldn't tell you where I was or what I was doing. It was the flute and me.
It transports you, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. I was like, wow, this is great. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's wonderful to have those timeless moments.
And it's really interesting to talk with other life forms, and then you stop in the conversation and you go, "You don't know what the word time is, do you?" "No, what's time?" Never mind. It'll be very soon. Thank you. Go ahead, go on. Because they have no concept of time. So when you use that in a sentence, they're like, "What is time?" I'm like, "Never mind."
I've had to have a few conversations with them to help them understand what I'm dealing with down here, and for them to do things in a as prompt a fashion as possible. And time is a very difficult concept for them. It really, really is, because they just do stuff. Like I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I mean, they have things to do, but there is no concept of time. It's like picking up, I don't know, it's like picking up sticks that are floating in a pool. For them, their experience is like a pool, and they just pick up the sticks wherever and whenever they need to. And so I asked them one time, I said, how am I going to know when to get to the meetings that I'll need to get to so they get there on time? And they started laughing. They're like, "You'll know, don't worry."
Yes.
And then, and they said, "Listen," they said, "you're going to be telepathic. You're going to be more telepathic than you are today. So whenever we need to announce a meeting that you're going to attend, you'll know about it. Don't worry, you won't be late." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right, fine."
I had to cross that barrier with the Sasquatch people because their concept of time is a little bit different. So when I speak with them about things, I ask them questions like, how many suns from now? How many moons from now? How many seasons ago? Things like that, because that's how they tell time. Moons, suns, and seasons.
Thank you.
It's the easiest way for them to understand time.
Yeah. My people, the guys I'm talking to, like the gang upstairs in the Andromeda Council, and this is very pointed. When they tell me about things they're going to do, or more specifically, things that are going to happen on this planet, they don't provide me information based on time. I mean, they can tell me within 4 or 5 days if it involves something that they are going to do. But if it's something that this planet is doing, they're like, no, it has nothing to do about when the planet will do what it's going to do. It's about what events need to happen first. You can't get D, as an example, you can't get D unless you have A, B, and C first. That's how they deal with all of the things that are going on regarding Earth. They know approximately when this volcano was going to pop off the coast of Oregon. Why? Because there are certain things that are happening now that are leading up to the event that will happen. Not because it's time that it happens, but because there are events that are happening that will ultimately trigger that final event.
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting you're saying that, because the Zuni Indians in New Mexico,
okay,
their prophecies are very much worded like that. If this happens, then watch for this.
Right.
It's just like computer language. If, then, go to.
Right. It's event driven. Very, very
Yes.
event driven. Yep.
It depends It depends greatly on the choices that people make, isn't it? Because if there's the right decision, it will go on. But if it's not, there's a consequences that is attached to it. Is that true?
Well, I certainly. I think you're absolutely correct regarding people, but when it has to do of right now, we're talking about the context of the changes on this planet. Mother Earth, as a female entity, is going through her metamorphosis, and to some degree her menopause, but her metamorphosis before. Again, a metaphor. She is a caterpillar, becomes a butterfly, and in this process of becoming a butterfly, there are expressions of change of this planet. That it's one event happens, then another happens, then another happens, and based on everything that I've been learning, not only has this planet been created out of intelligent design from the Creator and creation, this planet has its own evolutionary blueprint and geometry. This solar system has its own evolutionary blueprint and geometry, as does this galaxy, as does this universe. And we are evolving at the pace that we're evolving at this moment, because we are at the end of a number of cycles, all culminating at this moment of time in 2012. That's what I've learned, among many things. I don't know how that ties into what you know of, Gerald, but it's amazing.
Exactly. That's my sentiment. Exactly what you're talking about is the instructions that the Creator gave at the beginning of creation.
Yes.
When we through a process of time, expect it to happen. And if you follow the instructions, you'll know the next step. And we evolve when we take those steps. When we learn those steps, become paid obedient to it, then you participate in it. Does that explain it?
I certainly think that anyone on this planet who is opening up, awakening, and that is deciding to ask questions, is deciding to participate, their lives will be easier in terms of the evolution this planet is experiencing, because they won't be fighting the change. They'll say
they'll welcome it.
Right.
Yeah, and what I say about it, because the simpler you keep things, the easier it is to understand. So I just tell people that the planet is going through birthing pains.
Indeed. That's right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly why the images on the website, the Andromeda Council website, and especially the first page, there is an image of a young female, Mother Earth, birthing a new world. That's literally what's happening. Earth is going through a metamorphosis, and she's going to be birthing a higher dimensional world. It's time. It's like I said, it's an amazing time to be here. I'm not the only person that knows about this. There are other people using different words to describe the same thing, but As a matter of fact, I wanted to bounce something off of you, Gerald, and our gentleman who's of Lakota, if he's heard of this as well. The Hopi, and I'm going to paraphrase, the Hopi have said, during this time of transition, you will come to see beings the like of which you've never seen before.
That is correct.
And it's my understanding that we will start to see these beings not because they weren't here before, but because the solar system and the planet and us as people, we are going to be vibrating at a different vibration. And therefore, we'll be able to see these beings and these people that we've never seen before. The vibration of our eyes are changing. The colors and the translucency that we'll be able to see, we haven't been able to see up at this until this point in time.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of people seem to be experiencing is flu-like symptoms. And those flu-like symptoms is a transformation. And they read it wrong, so they go see the doctor and they get these medications. Is that true? Because that's what my people are saying. Exactly. Sometimes your eyes burn because of an experience. And when we begin to notice these things, it's just like when, do you remember when we were just teenagers and we had what they call growing pains?
Yes.
Isn't that what we're experiencing with all these different symptoms, but we're reading them wrong?
Yeah, I remember my teenage years, and boy, I'll tell you, that was a very intense time. I probably have, and this is literal, I have upwards of, and at least up until last week, I've had upwards of 600 people a week write to me with 3 or 4 questions per person every week. And out of all of those numbers, I probably have about only 10 or 12 people that are asking about these flu-like symptoms. So far, that's all I'm hearing about. I haven't been exposed to a large number of people yet that are talking about these symptoms.
Yeah, I'm just now getting over bronchitis myself, so I went through that as well.
I don't know. It's hard for me to speak for other people because my own worldview is just mine. I know what I'm experiencing. It doesn't mean that my life is easy. It's full of all sorts of challenges, but how do I see those challenges? How do I experience them? How do I face them? What do I do about them? How do I see every day? How do I experience it? Those perspectives determine how I'm going to live my life.
That's precisely exactly the perspective in what you're explaining for us to experience those same things. So everything that is, even these flu-like symptoms that we seem to be experiencing, is just an aspect of just something we have to overcome.
Sure.
And you know what I mean? These are teaching things, and when we evolve to a certain point that we can overcome them, that's precisely exactly what they're trying to teach us, is that you can overcome anything and anything that comes your way. Just face it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll give all of us an example. As an example, there are certain challenges that I face in my life every single day. Some are smaller, some are larger. Now, my perspective is I'm not afraid of those challenges, and moreover, I don't know what the solutions are. Okay? But I do know, and I expect that there are good positive solutions as the outcome. Whatever that challenge happens to be, I know that somewhere around the corner there's a solution. Now that means I don't live in fear. I'm not afraid of what's around the corner at all. I'm not afraid of what I face every day. I just know that one way or another, whatever pops up, the creation, life has a solution for me. And living like that you'd be amazed at how fast stuff manifests. It's amazing. It's just, it's cool. It really is.
I have a question for you, Tolec.
Sure.
Are there times when you're just being yourself, doing your thing, and no announcement, no warning, nothing, they just come in and start talking to you?
No. And I'll qualify that. The no is if there's nothing on the table, if there's no agenda, nothing on the agenda board that needs to be taken care of, the answer is no. If, as an example, in the past where I was waiting for from the commander of the primary Andromeda Council biosphere and or Nahishka, his head of defense, I was waiting for a report that says, yes, the reptilian undersea base and the area of the South China Sea has been destroyed. We've just taken it out. Yes, then they'll come and solicit me and say, hey, wake up, we need to talk to you. Or they bother me in the middle of a meeting. Otherwise, no. Usually, if I'm going to talk to them and I have questions which turn into more questions, I'm going to them. I go to them with a bunch of questions, and they're straightforward and they answer my questions.
Okay, I was just wondering because I've been having conversations with other life forms recently, and for instance, I'll go out in my backyard with my dogs so they can squat and
do their thing. Yep.
And while I'm sitting there letting them do their business, all of a sudden I'll just start talking about something. Then, about 10 or 15 seconds into me giving an answer to a question I didn't hear, all of a sudden I'm fully aware that there's somebody there asking me questions. So that's pretty good. That's why I was asking you, is there times when you just start talking out loud and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, somebody's asking me a question. What is this? So, I've been having that happen here recently.
Yeah, they're probably your people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we discussed a certain female, and she's
is she trying to get your attention?
she's somewhat intrusive at times, but she's probably one of the only people in the cosmos that can get away with being that intrusive. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, she's probably. I can say this: there are people on these biospheres who are our, for lack of better words, or for lack of better descriptive words, they are our true family from our place of origin. As an example, my soul and spirit essence came from Dakota, as I've talked about. So I have relatives. I have a brother. I have two brothers. I have a sister. These people are really excited to see me, and they can't wait until sometime in the near future I change my vibration and join them. And some of those people are getting impatient, strangely enough. They are excited, and they know it's sort of like this play, this drama, this play of Earth and its emergence and transformation as a beautiful new higher dimensional world. This play is almost coming to a close. And the closer that it comes to a close and the closer that we become this new world, the more excited these people are to see us. Because they know that, and sorry, wrong word, but time is growing short. The time that we are opaque, gross matter, 3D human people, that time is coming short.
It's funny you say it that way because there was a guy that I've been working with in Georgia that used to be a Bigfoot researcher. Now he's a Sasquatch experiencer. And the only thing I did was suggest to him that when he hears a voice in his head, instead of saying to yourself, it's just my imagination, start asking for validation. So he did. In the mountains of North Georgia, late at night, he was there, and he was communicating with a Sasquatch elder, and he asked for validation. So a stick came flying in and landed on his left, and then a bigger stick came flying in and landed on his right. And I told him, well, it's probably a good thing you took that as validation, because the next stick would have hit you right in the forehead. But he had this conversation with the Sasquatch elder about everything that's going on in the world and how it concerns him and upsets him, and he didn't know what to do. And the Sasquatch elder said, maintain your connection with the Creator.
Yes.
And he said, okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand that you're saying what you're saying, but I'm asking, why are you saying that to me right now? And the Sasquatch elder said, very simply, time is growing short.
Wow.
The same thing you just said.
Wow. Well, you know,
that was what, 7 or 8 months ago that happened.
I think, and I've done a lot of talking, so I'd like to hear this from all of the rest of you as well. Tom and I have talked about this a little bit, but I'll just briefly mention it. There are moments when Tom's learned something or I've learned something, and he and I have shared it, and we go, wow, because you get this moment of very, very crystallized confirmation, because we had just learned something unsolicited from somebody else because of an experience we just had. And that is a moment of confirmation where it's priceless. There's just quite no way to express how those moments of confirmation.
We have a word for that, though. We have a word for that, though, Tolec. That word is synchronicity. That's synchronicity and serendipity.
It's serendipity, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's good. But Gerald, and the rest of the guys, do you have any thoughts about the pace of which we are getting confirmation? Not only that's happening, but the pace of confirmation.
Oh, it's extremely, very powerful and fast, because whenever I want to do something, all I do is come into my bedroom, lie down, quieten my mind, and tell somebody to rest. And there's a voice which is not audible, but it's mind speak, and they're explaining something to me in my head.
Right.
So after the explanation, maybe sometimes half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, I just meditate on it and I just listen.
Right.
Then all of a sudden I get up from my bed and I say to my wife, they just finished talking to me. I got to write down and make a diagram out of it. And the diagrams that I have is so thick. It's if you were to put the pages on, it would be about 6 inches thick of information that I received from them. So, in the things that they tell you is what they talk about, what we're talking about right now. So, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, I had a fast one pulled on me the other day, Tolec. I guess it's been about 5 days ago. I asked for more of my conscious memory to start coming into this skin suit, because I was tired of being under the amnesia cloak, or whatever you'd like to call it.
Sure.
So
Yep.
3 days ago, I got up and was making coffee. I wasn't really fully awake yet. I was, stumbling around, making coffee, let the dogs out, all that kind of stuff. And a female voice came into my head, and just out of the blue, she said, "Where are you from?" And I sat there and gave her an answer with details and everything else, and all of a sudden I was wide awake, shaking my head going, "You can't do that to me. I haven't made coffee yet. You can't do that yet. Never before coffee."
Yep.
So she pulled a fast one on me. She goes, "Good, you remembered. You're bringing conscious memory." And I'm like, please don't do that before coffee anymore, okay? Never before coffee. That's my only rule. Never before coffee. Okay? So.
That's funny.
And I'm sure they pulled some fast ones on you like that before, too.
I can't, and Gerald or anybody else that you want to chime in after I tell the story, feel free to share your perspective. My experience has been, let's see, this is 10, 11, this is the third summer in a row of my Tolec work, my Tolec awakening. And for the past 2 straight summers, I have experienced through the month of May, June, July, and middle August, being up until 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, usually till about 3:30, 4:30, every single night. Like with somebody using, wrong expression, but somebody's got like this big pointed ray gun. And they're going bzzz, and they're sending all of this vibratory energy and knowledge, of course, down to me. And it's hard to, I've gotten very little sleep. The more I've progressed, like this year, it's a lot easier than the first 2 years. But the first 2 summers, I'm amazed that I got any work done at work because they kept me up till 3:30, 4 in the morning. And I said to Azar one time, I'm like, Azar, I love you, but can you back it off just a little bit? I need some sleep. So that's been my experience, is that they've sent me a lot of information in the early morning hours, and I've been conscious.
What I have found is when I do a radio show like this, my subconscious runs it through and through again. Then some days later, or some hours or minutes later after the show, I got exactly what they're talking about.
Oh yeah. Your total essence has an opportunity to absorb everything you heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Exactly, and I know this happens to the people in my chat room. I know it happens to the people who come back and listen to the archives. And
yeah,
I look at creation, and every night and every day, I thank the creators, mother and father and our elder brother, for keeping me going and going and going. And then I asked one day, what am I going to do with all this knowledge I'm amassing? They said, your time will come.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I got 1,071 years. My intent is to stay here. They said, you'll have a knowledge.
There's a gentleman by the name of Mark Kimmel, who I've come to know. Very kind, very gentle, very noble and wise man. And he has been in communication with specifically fifth dimensional people, blue-skinned, tall, from the Andromeda galaxy. And these days, among the many things he speaks about, is the importance of people who will remain on this planet once the transformation has happened, post-January 2014, it's a new world with things we've never experienced before. He's talking about the importance of people who will be caretakers and who will help those humans who've transformed, who are going, what just happened? How did I get here? What is this all about? So those caretakers will help those people come to understand what this new experience is for them. There'll be a lot of other teaching as well, but there's going to be a high degree of need for people like yourself, Dave, to help others during this transformation process and beyond. There just will be. Some people choose to stay on this planet, some will choose to leave. But
I'm staying here with my wolves because we have a job to do afterwards.
Yes. I understand.
Yeah, we had Mark on. I had him on through your recommendation, Tolec, and discovered that he was the last show that he did before he went quiet was Rebecca Jernigan's show, and she had him back on Tuesday as well. He's a lovely soul.
Oh, you mean Mark? Mark Kimmel?
Yes.
Yes.
He was just on with Rebecca Jernigan.
Yeah.
Let me see when. Let me look here at the show.
Tuesday,
yeah.
He and I are going to be having an hour and a half conversation on Saturday, and it'll be posted on Sunday. But we're going to be talking at length about the different star people, extra-dimensional people, as well as ETs, 3D physical ETs, that will be helping this planet during its time of transformation. And a lot of the things that are coming in the next 6 months, 8 months, a year. So it'll be good for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are asking a lot of questions, and we just thought it would be beneficial to have sort of the two of us providing an Andromedan perspective.
And for people who are listening, you will find those as the 2012-05-22 show on Journeys with Rebecca archives, and on 2012-612.
Oh, for Mark's archive shows.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and for the one he and I are doing, it'll probably be posted on 6/17 on Sunday. It'll most likely be posted then, one day later. So he's a good, kind soul, and he's his people are different than mine because they're strictly from the Andromeda Galaxy. But interestingly enough, though the words that we use are not exactly the same, a lot of our information is collaborative and overlays each other. There's a lot of alignment there, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. There's a good point.
Yeah.
It's language throughout the galaxy. Now, we've got lots of different languages that appears on Earth. And, we always used to watch Star Trek and we're going, oh, yeah, they speak English.
Right.
What you're saying is actually they do.
Oh, wow, interesting point to bring up. All right, I'll start here. When Ambassador Tanka, Diplomat Maka, and Vice Chairwoman Tanya come and speak and travel the U.S., Canada, and the rest of the globe, when the people from the 4 planets of the Andromeda Council come to speak broadly across the globe for 6, 8, 9 months nonstop. Mm-hmm. I'm going to borrow a Star Trek term. They will have universal translators. So if they're speaking in Japan, they will be speaking Japanese. If they're speaking in the province de Quebec, they will parler français. They will be speaking French. If they're going to be in Italy, they will be speaking Italian through their universal translators.
Cool. I want one.
Yeah, kind of cool. But on the Andromeda Council biosphere, their business language, the language of day-to-day business, is of the Andromeda Galaxy. I don't know what Sanskrit sounded like when it was originally spoken, but they tell me that if I were to hear it, it would sound very much like original Sanskrit. That's what the language of the star system Zenitae in the Andromeda Galaxy is spoken like. That's what it sounds like. That's their language of business. For us on Earth, it's English.
Thank you for that, because that's one of the big questions. The people.
That's how they're. Universal translators. That's how they're going to do it.
Sounds good. Or
Now we are, just for the listening audience, for whoever's still listening at this time, we are right now talking about vocalization and speaking. All right, close that curtain. Different subject matter. Now, when it has to do with telepathy, then for people who start to become more and more telepathic, you will hear from the people that are communicating with you in whatever language you live and breathe every day.
Yeah, that's why I don't use the word telepathy. I use the word mind speak, because When the Sasquatch people are communicating with me, a lot of times I have to bounce things back and forth to make sure I'm understanding correctly, because it does translate into my understanding. But sometimes I have to see through their eyes or bounce things off to them to make sure I'm understanding them correctly, because it translates from what they're thinking to my head, and then it comes through in my own understanding, and that's why I have to bounce it back and forth just to make sure. So I always call it mind speak, because sometimes there's words, but there's always emotion or feeling in that communication, so that there's no mix-up in what's really being conveyed, because you get the emotions, you get the sense of it, the feeling, everything comes through at once.
You get the meaning.
About 50% of what I learn, literally 50%, maybe 60%, are images. And so then I've got to ask them, okay, you just showed me this. I've got a bunch of questions. What did you mean by this image? What did you mean by the image, the two images that followed it? Is one relevant to the other? Because they'll just start throwing images. As I'm asking questions, these images will be coming through, and I'm like, all right, slow down, guys, hang on. So, yeah, I have to qualify a lot of that by asking questions.
Yeah, according to the ancient teachings and our people here in the Cree Nation, is that the words spoken by the Creator, when He spoke, He created. And what is that language that He spoke? So even in our communication using the English language, is that we're creating sounds, blending them together to produce words. And the words, in essence, is vibrational and frequency. And the way that my people have said is the land speaks to the people. The vibrations that the land gives, when the people understand the language of the language is created. So, as far as people are concerned, in regards to asking the experts that know this, and also the ancient teachings, they said that the Creator has 22 sounds. And those 22 sounds is a manipulation of creating certain sounds. Like, you say, for example, the Cree language itself, in our understanding towards that, so we are living in this land, so the land speaks to us. The animals, the birds, the sea creatures, the plants and trees.
Oh, yes.
And the insects and the reptiles speak to us. And the language that they speak is a transference by reading the vibration and the sound that they create. So, in other words, when all my relations is that you learn from them, is you basically are understanding the language of the Creator in the land that you occupy. Like, say, for example, people living in where there's tigers or lions or the crocodiles or other things. It's pretty definite that the Creator who created these things on that particular land. See, let me give you a good example.
Okay.
You know where camels were created on planet Earth?
I would think the African continent, or somewhere between Africa and Asia, which were connected at one time.
No, according to the scientists, the paleontologists, and all these ologists, they said that the camels were created in North America.
Huh. Interesting.
It is. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. How come we don't have no camels here now? And camels are in the Middle East area. You know what I mean?
Something about a little flood, little earth changes going on.
Precisely.
And
Now,
dromedaries.
you see, we're beginning to read the information. We begin to understand when these changes were taking place in the language that it created. We begin to speak the language of the Creator.
Right.
See, like us as Cree Indians, the word
I gave Marlo his nighttime.
is, let me say it this way. The language that we can say the Cree language is, it's Hebrew.
Do you want me to feed him, Marlo?
Okay, let me give you a good example. The Cree word for using that word Yahweh is Nehi Yahweh, which means be an Indian.
Huh.
You see? So the linguists have a fun time discovering the meanings of words.
Do you want me
And when you find the meanings of the words, there you'll find the spirit or the energy that is connected to it. How amazing. So when you begin to talk to a bird, it's going to tell you its life. You know, to us as Indian people here in North America, do you know what our libraries are? Do you have any idea?
The hills, the mountains, the rivers, the streams.
The stone people.
I'm sorry, say again?
The stone people?
The stone people.
Crystals.
Yes, just pick up a stone anywhere and grab onto it. When you enter into their dimension, into their world, they'll talk to you.
Huh.
That's a good example of crystal language.
Yes. Yeah. But you know, and this is only through my own experience, but it's not only the words that people say, because you could say something like, "Oh, thank you so much," and the way I just said it, somebody should be able to feel the energy behind that thank you and the emotion behind that thank you. Now, if I said, "Oh, thanks," you wouldn't derive as much benefit or energy from that thanks because there was not as much intention, or for lack of a better word, there was not as much love put behind that thank you. So it's not only the words, but the energy and the intention that's put behind those words.
Now you come to that area of singing.
I've got to walk away for a moment, gentlemen. I've got 3 dogs, and their bladders are full, so I will return in a moment.
Okay.
So,
Gerald, go ahead.
Yeah, singing. Singing.
Okay?
Our singing is our prayer, and our dance is our movement. And when we learn to sing and dance, like what you said about what you just said, intonation, isn't it?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
whenever they can read it, exactly the difference. You say, oh, thanks. But you say, oh, thank you very, very much. You see what you just said, the energy in it.
Right.
All the can read it.
Yeah, and women are very good at that. Their sense of sensing generally is better than a man's, but we all have it. All we have to do is be open and pay attention. It doesn't take much.
There you go. That's exactly what's required of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because they're always, you see, like, even the elders that taught me all these things, as they say, pay attention because they're talking to you. And you say, well, being indoctrinated in this educational system, you know, you sometimes, well, what are you talking about? It is only the fact because of that inward journey that we do make, we begin to understand those principles that are involved. And one of the interesting things is we never touched on it, but the DNA, is not a remarkable piece of furniture, I guess I could call it, that the Creator has gave us. That information is there. That's our blueprint of our physical life.
Yes.
Which is an amazing thing. Now, the Andromeda Council, they will not interfere because what's written in your DNA, they know that's your truth. Creation does too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
When you wake up to that aspect of it, man, something wonderful happens, doesn't it?
Oh, it's been an amazing, at least for me, it's been an amazing experience. And as long as I ask from the most sincere part of me, and I am aware of what I am asking, they provide. They give me the answers.
There you go.
When the student is ready, the teacher will come. And, I hope that people don't necessarily take those words literally, because teacher does not mean a male person or a female person. Teachers come in the form of everyday lessons, every experience that we have almost every day of our lives. If we're aware enough, we can be open enough to be taught. And the more aware we are, of course, the more we want to be taught. or the more we want to learn. Maybe that's a better way to express it.
Yeah, like one of the aspects, the issues that I'm dealing with is being afraid of heights. So somewhere along the line, my ancestors from days gone by had an experience of falling. And it's embedded in there. So I say, okay, I got to deal with this, the fear of heights, and face it. And when you begin to identify that very area,
Tell me more about this.
based on our ancestors, don't you find that usually what the elders say, that these things are passed on for 4 or 5 generations? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can only speak for my own experience is that I've had enough lifetimes to know that there have been certain things, certain emotional experiences, memories that I've carried from one lifetime to the next. And some of those lifetime experiences have popped up for me, and fortunately, I've been aware enough to be able to deal with them and say, "Oh, okay, this is what's going on here. This explains why I'm involved with this woman at this time, because I can finally bring closure to this woman in this lifetime after many experiences." As an example, but I have to be, as an example, I have to be open enough to say, okay, what's really going on here? What is this experience about? What am I supposed to be learning here? I don't know if other people take the time to ask those questions, but I can say that it's worth asking them. Because whenever I dig deep and ask those questions, then there's more learning. Have you ever thought to ask your own elders or your own spiritual guides about your past life experiences to learn if the fear of heights is embedded anywhere in those experiences?
Yeah, because when I was growing up, I was definitely not scared of heights.
Oh.
Trees and buildings and things like that I used to enjoy. And I remember the whole time in my growing up experience, I used to fly around all over the whole universe, come back and enjoy it and just observe and absorb everything that I've seen.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, this fear of heights came and entered into that, And I was just wondering, okay, it happened at a specific time in my life at a certain age. Then I can identify exactly the issue that is regarding around my life and seeing that, the fear of heights. So when I approach it in that way and I welcome it and I begin to find out, because you see, but what the ancient teachings say is this: from the fall of grace, we were in the 13th dimension once upon a time, and we fell from grace from 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, to this dimensional.
Yeah.
The experiences that we acquired falling from that is the experiences in the dimensions. That's what my elders talk about in regards.
Huh.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's something that I could use to venture forth and to find exactly what the truth is regarding situations that are revolving around my life and addressing it. So the very teachers out there that could assist me in dealing with my problem as they come forward, and they help me deal with that.
Yeah, and I this is just my own thoughts. I think that as long as you, as a person, are open to exploring what that's all about, and willing to learn whatever the answers are, you'll be fine. You'll come through it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful part of learning, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, but it is definitely the willingness and openness to go through the process and learn whatever you learn. That will get you there.
Yeah, remember the word how? Well, there's that stereotype image we Indian people say, put up our right hand and say, how?
Yeah.
But the word how, H-O-W, means with all honesty, openness, and willingness. An acronym of the word.
That's good. I've never heard that.
Yeah, so
Thank
be
you.
honest with ourselves. Be honest with your very being. Be open and be willing. Okay, there it is. There's the principles in front of me. Am I willing to take that risk? Absolutely, because I want to find out.
Gentlemen, it's been going on almost 4 hours.
Yeah, and I just want to share, as we close the show, I just want to share a point of humor, 50-50 again, JP, about the Pope and Obama. The Pope and Obama were at a conference, and there was a lot of people there. And as they came out, the Pope got over close to Obama, and he said, I am thought of as such a very nice and well-known man that I can just wave my hand, and it will send ripples of happiness through everyone around the world. And Obama said, I know you're a spiritual man and everything, but I got to call you on that one. I think you're full of it. And the Pope said, really? Let me show you. And he raised his hand up and slapped Obama, knocked him off the stage, and everybody roared with applause.
Right, and he said, see?
That's right.
Oh, brother.
How was that, JP, for 50-50?
45.
This is a simple question I'd like to ask, not you, Tom.
Okay.
And Dave, JP, and Tolec. What's in the middle of Texas?
X.
You got it.
An X?
That's
What's
the
in the middle?
Oh,
of X?
jeez. Oh, you guys.
It's like what's a 12-letter word that starts with gas?
I know the answer, but I won't say nothing.
Okay. Come on,
What do you think, Tolec?
Automobile.
I have no clue.
An automobile.
Automobile.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. By the way, I'd like to defend the state of Texas for just a moment because I visited there recently. For anybody that hasn't visited the area of the Rio Grande or just north of there, amazing country.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautiful.
Yes, the dog agrees with you.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think we are coming to that it's, I don't know what time it is where you guys are, but it's getting late here. And
Yeah. Where you speaking from, Tolec?
I am in southern Arizona, in the desert country of southern Arizona.
Oh, you lucky. You're lucky.
I have...
And he doesn't deliver pizzas down there either.
No. No, but I am... Yes, hi there. I do have saguaro cactus around me, and mesquite and palo verde, and little crickets and cactus wrens. It's a beautiful country. It's really pretty.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah.
Ask the people there to see whether or not you can get them harvested red earth.
I'm sorry. Can you say that? Can you say that again, please?
Ask the people around there to give you some harvested red earth.
Red earth.
Yes.
Eat
it. It will transform you from the inside out.
Yeah, there is some land around here which is similar to Sedona. That has right. It's actually up in the Saguaro National Monument, and there is some red earth up there.
Go get some.
So I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah. It's having been raised in the East, this is amazing country. It is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's special, very, very special country out here.
Now, you're going to have to come back to another radio program because we'll discuss alchemy, the next topic, about the red earth and the philosopher's stone.
I'm game to learn almost anything. So sure.
Well,
okay,
then
make
we will.
an appointment with Dave and JP.
The boys. Yeah. Yeah, well, I have a definite date for JP. As soon as certain events start to happen, he and I have a scheduled meeting. So, yes, I will be back in the near future.
And I hope many times after that.
Oh, you'll be hearing from me, that's for sure. I'm not sure what form I'll be in, but you'll be hearing from me.
That'd be interesting.
So I'd just like to say thank you very much for having me on your program and the end of it. Thanks very much, Thomas, and Tolec. Great to hear from you again. And yes, we'll definitely get together when it happens. I can feel it. It's not long, is it? It's not long.
No, it's not.
No, not long.
Thank you from Scotland, and I'm away to my bed.
Well, God bless you, sir.
JP's the only guy I know in Scotland that lives on Pacific time.
Actually, if you, the computer that I'm talking through Skype on is set to Pacific time, so that I don't get so confused when I'm doing the show. Wow. So my clock is saying 22:57 and not 0700.
Wow. Well, bless you, sir. I know that when your body hits your bed, your body will be very happy.
Yeah. And my bed will go, oh, not you again.
Yeah. All right. Well, have wonderful dreams. Have a great sleep, sir.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night, JP,
Right,
and thanks
take care.
for being here again, bud.
Good night,
That's all right.
Good night,
And,
Tolec.
I'll be back
Good
on
night.
Sunday.
Good night,
And-
JP.
To all of you gentlemen from the Dakota, I will say Pidamaya, which is thank you. And from the Lakota, Pila Maya Yelo, which is also thank you. So thank you for having me here and for having Chante Washteya, which is for having good hearts in having me here. I appreciate it. It's been a joy.
And as Thomas and I say to each other, Dada Godavi.
Dada Godavi. That's right.
And we'll go out with a little bit of John August and Stillwater on flutes.
Okay.
And
thanks, guys.
And we're off the air.
Good night.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been a show that will go on forever.
Good.
Yes.
Good. It's been a pleasure. I mean it. It was a real joy. I enjoyed it.
And I will have it up in the archives within an hour because I got to do that before I go to bed because I can't stand to go to bed and.
I know. Yep.
When's it gonna be on? What's it gonna be on your page, Tolec?
Probably midday tomorrow because I bring it into Microsoft's Movie Maker.
Yeah.
I add a front end. I add some images. I'll have the flute music. So it's midday tomorrow, and I'll probably do the first 2 hours.
Okay.
As compared to all 4, but.
And I will put all 4 hours up because I record it in 32 kilobit audio.
Yeah, so do I. That's not a problem. My problem is once they import it into Microsoft's Movie Maker, it becomes a leviathan.
Well, we only all of ours are up there. The majority of them are in 32 kilobit, but there's some that are 64 and some that are 128. But my audio stream is 64 kilobit.
Okay. What a wonderful dog. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to scoot. It's been a pleasure. Dave, thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tolec. I appreciate it.
And Tom, thanks for being the instigator.
Oh, and I look forward to talking to you in the next couple of days and sharing some more things with each other.
Yeah, let me know when your mate knocks on your door again.
Oh, when does she not? She's being very, very persistent right now. On so many levels. She got me good the other day when she asked me where I was from, and I just started rambling the answer out. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm making coffee, and let me get that out of the way, okay? Never before coffee.
Right.
And all I heard was laughter at that point. So.
Good. Alrighty, guys. Have a good one.
Good night. Yeah, good night, Tolec.
Right.
Good night, and thank you, Gerald, again.
You bet. Anytime.
Hey, Gerald, it was a pleasure. Nice meeting you.
My pleasure indeed.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.